there will always be some uncertainty about how quickly he can acquire a nuclear weapon, but we don't want the smoking gun to be a mushroom cloud.
Iraq was, in a way, not chosen. It chose itself. And in the end of the day, Saddam Hussein made the choice. I say that Iraq was a war of last resort.
We know of certain knowledge that we know these things. We know them. Mm-hmm. We also know there's a category of things we don't know. Mm-hmm. And then we don't even know a category of things that we don't know.
Mm-hmm. When I heard that George Tenet, the head of the CIA, that he was hitching a ride in the morning down with the CIA briefer, just to be around so he could have FaceTime with the new president, you know. That doesn't work, because if you size up your director as a guy who's willing to smell the prevailing winds, you know, and adjust his briefings accordingly, then how are you going to be completely free to tell the president or the vice president, secretary of state, well, that's not the way it is, sir. Our sources and our analysts say it's this way.
It was basically in the summer of 2002 when it became quite apparent to those of us within the bureaucracy that that was the way this administration wanted to go, to launch the war in Iraq.
I and everyone was listening very, very carefully to what General Powell had to say. And as his words came out, I began to experience what I can only describe as cognitive dissonance, whereby what you know and the facts that you have had at your fingertips to that point do not square with new incoming information.
So Saddam Hussein became an ally of al-Qaeda in their marketing. And the truth of that is they were not allies at all, but enemies.
The United States was attacked by al-Qaeda, and therefore our response is to go invade Iraq. So I said, unfortunately, to these cabinet members, I said, you know, this is the equivalent of Franklin Roosevelt responding to Pearl Harbor by invading Mexico.
So that became pretty clear that they saw the war, the propaganda part of it, as a marketing campaign. But it was largely substance-free.
No discussion, no debate, no negotiation. The burden of proof is on Saddam Hussein.
It was so bad by that time that people were referring to the vice president's office as the Gestapo, the Nazis. People were referring to Rumsfeld and the alliance between Rumsfeld and Cheney as the deadly duo, the devil's duo.
And of course they had done a brilliant job of constructing a case whereby the majority of Americans thought that Saddam Hussein and Iraq were responsible for 9/11, even though they had nothing whatsoever to do with it.
But I do think that people like Dick Cheney and even George W. Bush don't travel very much, and I dare say they probably won't travel very much for the rest of their lives, because they're somewhat fearful of being Pinochet, as it were, you know, someone grabbing them and putting them before court. If we were not the United States of America, if we were not the most powerful economy and military in the world, there is no doubt in my mind that some of the people in the George W. Bush administration would stand before a tribunal convened by the ICC. No doubt in my mind. They committed war crimes.